And then I did that thing that all companies hate when, they train up an apprentice and then they go, see you later. I got headhunted and asked if I would like to go out to Canada and work on the Canadian Parliament buildings.
Oh, nice. Ever thought of taking on somebody?
So this is the thing.
Or is it your space only?
So this is kind of why I do the YouTube videos, is because really I should have an apprentice because we need more people to have apprentices.
What made you go on your own then? What was it?
I was a horrible to be around. I was miserable because...
Yeah.
Yeah, so silent.
So tonight on Trade Legends, we are joined by Tom Whitehead from
Mainstone Carving.
Mainstone Carving, and Tom does
Banker Masonry.
Banker, Mason, and Stone.
Banker Masonry and Stone Carving. Banker Masonry is one
Yeah,
thing.
Banker Masonry is
Banker
one thing,
Masonry and Stone Carving.
Yep, that's what I do. Yeah.
So what we tend to do with the show is we take people back to, you've left school. You know, was it a trade that you always wished to do? Did you go to uni? What did you do? How did you get into the sort of line of work that you currently do? Because it's not the usual trade. It's not the plumbing, the electrics, or the carpentry work. Just take us back and give us a bit of backstory to how you came to be where you are now. And sort of.
Yeah, right. So did GCSEs, did all right. Got a couple of A's, a couple of B's. The rest of them C's, I think. I got one D in RE.
What did you get an A in?
I got an A in what did I get an A in? Music.
I love it when people
I'm a drummer.
I got an A. It was in RE.
No, I got a D in RE. It was the only one I got. I failed at.
Yeah.
But I got an A in art or something as well. I don't know. And then I did my A levels because it was just kind of directed in that, you go to sixth form, do A levels. So I did A levels, but my A levels were a joke. I did art and design, which was a double A level. So it was like at least 2, if not 3 periods a day of doing.
Sounds like you, Jack.
Art and design. Yeah. And then I did 3D art and design as well, which was as an AS. And then I did a design technology. So all mine were like course-based coursework because I was terrible at exams and not overly academic. And then after that, all my mates were like, oh, I'm going to Manchester to do medicine, or I'm going to Southampton to do engineering, whatever. And I was like, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an art foundation year, which is like a bridging year where you do loads of stuff. You do life drawing and illustrating and screen printing and photography and all that kind of stuff. And I did loads of ceramics whilst I was doing this course and really liked it. And I kind of was like gearing up to look and maybe go down the ceramicist route, and then found out that it was a logistical pain in the backside to make a living out of it. And one of the college lecturers just suggested stonemasonry, and I was like, yeah, cool. What the hell's that? I have no idea what stonemasonry is.
So what was the issues then with ceramics?
I think it's just really hard to make a living out of it. I think the wages are it's a struggle, unless you make it and then you do really well. But
yeah,
I think my parents were like, well, I was actually looking at going to university to do a fine art sculpture degree at Carmarthen, I think, in Wales. And my parents were like, yeah, that's cool, but what are you going to do when you've got your fine art sculpture degree? Like, what job are you going to go into? And I was like, I have no idea. And they're like, oh, I think you should get a trade. And then when this college lecturer suggested stonemasonry, because he was like, you're good at making stuff, maybe not so good at like coming up with creative ideas.
Yeah.
I went down and had a look at the course, which is actually a level 2 course, which was lower than my A levels. It's like GCSE level course. And it was a full-time course. And I was like, I absolutely want to do this. This is wicked. And my parents were like, are you sure you want to do this? Like moving down to Weymouth and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. So I moved down there, started the full-time course, which doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame.
What, at the college that you went
to?
to?
Weymouth College had a masonry department for like 80-odd years, I think. And it shut down about 2-3 years ago. But that comes down to, that's a whole other conversation really. That comes down to not being able to get a decent lecturer in, I don't think, because lack of funding.
Did they do any other trades at the college, or was it?
So they had a masonry department, specific masonry department, which was purpose built up at Poundbury, which is like this little toy town that King Charles built just outside Dorchester. Yeah. And they had this specific masonry department there. But I think the numbers on the courses just kept dwindling. They were really struggling to get a lecturer. somebody who was from the industry, who has, like industry background. So, they ended up closing that course a few years ago. And then Edinburgh closed last year.
I mean, how many colleges actually do what you studied? How many are? Because didn't Rach say that there was only 5 or 6 places left now in the country?
It's piss poor right at the moment, if I'm honest. So you've got Building Crafts College in London. You've got Bath College, which has had a course since forever. Weymouth is gone. Malton College, York College, and then there's a few in Scotland. I think you've got Stirling, Elgin.
I mean, is it
Glasgow? Maybe no.
Are these colleges sort of going by the wayside because there's not enough work for people to go into once they're trained, or is it just purely because you can't get people to have? So there's a lot of work.
There's tons of work. There's a serious lack of stonemasons kicking about at the moment, which is great for me as a stonemason because it means that I'm absolutely inundated with work. But it's terrible for the industry. It's kind of on its arse at the moment because there's not the new generation that are coming through really. Yeah. Obviously, CNCs is becoming a thing as well.
What do you think needs to change then? Does there need to be more investment in
there? Needs to be more investment in it. You need to motivate a good stonemason from the industry to be like, right, well, I could go to college and earn the same amount of money as I could in the industry. But the problem is that the college lecturers aren't being paid. Well, I don't know what all the college lecturers are being paid, obviously. But I've been shown a few opportunities to be like, do you want to go to this college and teach? But it's like, the money's not there. Like, why would I take like a 10, 15 grand pay
decrease?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think what a solution is to it really. But I mean,
they need to just be able to pay the lecturers better, and then you can get better lecturers in. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Paul Hill up at York, he's doing a good job. I don't know all the lecturers across the board, but
I mean, to get people onto the course as well, you obviously sort of migrated from an art course.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people that are taking that up, if they were advised at the start, well, you can go and do this art course, or here's other options for you because you are good at these specific aspects. Do you think that should be pushed more as well to people? So it's not just you're going on that course and you don't really know that there is another.
Yeah, so there's not many of the colleges. I don't think all the colleges do a full-time course anymore. I think most of them are apprentices. But I ended up on the apprenticeship scheme after. So I started on the full-time course at Weymouth, and then after about 3 or 4 months, they held an internal masonry competition. To select the top 3 that then would go and represent the college in the regional qualifying competition, stonemasonry competitions. And I entered it after doing it for like 3 or 4 months, and I won the masonry competition internally and beat all the third years, which I think pissed off a few people. But then the company that judged it, so they got an external company to come in and judge the college masonry competition, and it was a company called Albion Stone, which are based in Portland, and they were like, "Ooh, he's all right.
Yeah.
He hasn't got a apprenticeship, so do you want an apprenticeship?" And I was like, "Sweet." So, and then went down to Portland and started working for them.
So do you like, obviously you've just mentioned this company. Do you feel that the colleges have got 2 sort of things that they need to sort out? One, obviously paying lecturers the correct amount of money.
Yeah.
But then there should be more private companies that are involved with the specific course. So you're actually training people for what's needed within the industry.
Yeah. So I think it needs to, I think there comes a point, or it's coming to a point now where the larger companies have got to invest more in training internally, because I don't think the college route is really working at the moment. I don't know anything about the funding situation or anything, but it seems to me that I think if you said to a good quality banker mason, do you want to go to work at college, teach a load of kids for like 40 odd grand a year or whatever, they'll be like, yeah, sweet, I'll do that. But right now I don't think that's the motivation's not there.
Yeah. So you go to college, you win this competition.
Yeah.
Where does that go from
so
there?
Then
you get the apprenticeship, yeah?
Yeah, so I get my apprenticeship. I start working full-time at Albion.
What happens to the...
Well, I say full-time. It was block release. It would be 3 weeks at work and then 1 week at college.
What happens to the third years when you get your apprenticeship?
What do you mean?
You remember the third years being pissed off that you won the competition?
Oh yeah, no, they're all right. They're sound. They're all right. They're just from various other masonry firms around the way. They were all right. But I ended up then competing at the regionals. Well, at the time it was called the UK Masonry Skills Challenge, which is the worst name ever for a masonry competition. And I won that. And then I went on to the national finals, which was Skill Build national finals, and then I won that. So
that's on again soon, is it? Skill Build?
Skill Build, yes. So I'm now a judge for Skill Build, which is cool. I did my first year last year, and we've got regional qualifiers happening next week, and then the week after, and the week after that.
Yeah. So give us a bit more information then on what Skill Build is for people that are listening and watching.
So Skill Build is a national skills competition, construction industry specific. Yeah. So they have a variety of different trades. You've got plastering and drywall systems, you've got bricklaying, carpentry, joinery, cabinet making, stonemasonry, tiling. I'm sure there's some other ones that I've probably got. Roofing.
Because I've seen recently there's obviously Super Trail for bricklayers, and they've been doing regional heats up and down the country, and then there'll be a final where all the best from the different regions come together.
So are they fully qualified?
Yeah.
Right, so
Super Trail.
The stipulation with Skill Build is that you have to be in training. So it's aimed more at like the people who are apprentices. Yeah. Although I'm not sure how it works, whether you could have someone who's worked in the industry for like 10 years and then goes to college and then can compete. I think that was a bit of I don't know whether you can do that or not, but yeah.
And where's it held?
So
the national
finals. Yes. I think this year it's in Milton Keynes. They do move it around there. Last year it was in Milton Keynes, but I think they quite like the place where we did it last time.
Yeah.
So we're going there again.
Okay. What are you going to have to do? Are you judging all the trades, or are you just
just masonry? So it's me, a lad called James Preston, and another lad called Sean Hepburn. Yeah. Sean and James have been judging for years with another guy called Darren who stepped back, and I stepped forward.
And how does an opportunity like that come to you then to go and judge other people's work?
So those guys as judges, they asked me specifically to come and become a judge, which was wicked because I competed all 3 years I was at college, and it's nice that they came along and was like,
now you're on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Now on the other side. Yeah. Now I can walk around like giving people the eye, be like, ooh, wouldn't do it like that.
Yeah. like Bake Off.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you've gone into this new business on the apprenticeship. Give us a bit of how that came. Well, obviously we know how it came about, but sort of how that's progressed, and then where you sort of moved from there. Are you still at the same company? Or
I finished. No, so that was done in Portland, in Dorset. I live up in West Yorkshire now. But so I worked for those guys for about 10 months out of my apprenticeship, and then I did that thing that all companies hate when they train up an apprentice and then they go, see you later. Yeah. But I did get, I got headhunted for a job in Canada.
Okay, I was going to say, what's your reasoning for it? Because I know a lot of people say, well, they still try to continue to pay me the same as when I'm an apprentice. But
they did give me a pay rise, but it was still, like, the wages still was pretty poor. But, there's a cap on how much they'll pay at a place like Portland because... they've got local masons who live locally, and so they're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. But I got headhunted and asked if I would like to go out to Canada and work on the Canadian Parliament buildings.
Oh, nice.
So I went out there and worked, got a 3-year work visa and went out there. And,
which part of Canada?
Ottawa, capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just government buildings, or
just the West Block rehabilitation project, I think.
How does somebody find you to headhunt you to go?
I'm not sure exactly how they found me. I don't know whether it went through college or whatever, but I just got an email one day from this guy being like, "Hey, do you want to?"
And is this the days before you put yourself on social media?
Yeah, nothing was on the internet. Yeah, this was like 2010 maybe. So I didn't have social media. Yeah. I mean, I probably had Facebook or something. But I got offered this job, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to pay you like best part of $40 an hour or something." And I was like, "What? That's like double what I'm getting paid at the moment, double what I'm getting paid at the moment. So I was like, well, I'm 20. How old was I? Like 22, 23, I think.
A free trip to Canada.
Yeah, and they were like, we'll pay for your flights, we'll sort out your work visa, just come over and start working here. We've got 3 years.
What was the work like over there? Is it similar to the stuff that you've done here? Or?
It was interesting for me actually, because I went from Portland, where I was working in a banker shop with 9 blokes, all cutting stone, big gantry crane. They had everything right from quarry right through to finished masonry. So you've got your primary saws, your massive 3 meter diameter circular saws, bridge saws. They had Asher lines, planers, and all these other machines. And then it went through to the banker shop. So I went from this huge industrial factory style workshop, and then it was really my first proper site experience. Went out and then got thrown on this giant restoration project. Which was a real eye-opener because I hadn't really worked on site before. And I remember the first day I got there, they were like, all right, so what do you want to do? Do you want to do some building or what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, well, I've done a lot of cutting, but I'd like to do some building. They're like, well, I'll tell you what, we'll start you on they call it Dutchman.
Right.
So there's a repair that you do on stone, which we call an indent repair, but in North America they call it a Dutchman repair. No idea why, but it's essentially if you've got a broken part of a stone, you chop out the broken part and then you put a new part in.
Yeah.
So it's only a section of a stone that you're replacing. So I got put on the Dutchman crew, and I think they were like, okay, you could just stay on the Dutchman crew. So because I was doing all right at it, so I ended up essentially just being on the Dutchman crew for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I did rebuild a chimney and did a couple of other bits of building, but generally speaking, I was just doing stone repairs.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, just a quick one to say a huge thank you to our new headline sponsor, CT1, the best sealant on the market, voted for by the British public. Not only that, it's made in Britain as well. So go and support a product and a brand that is made in the UK. But I just want to say to you, they've got a brand new product out, which is the BT1. It's a combination sealant and adhesive like the popular CT1, but it's perfect for keeping a hygienic environment. And it's designed to completely stop the growth of bacteria, microbes, and fungus. And not only that, this stuff is strong. Now, it's going to be available at Travis Perkins, Wickes, Jewson's, and pretty much everywhere else, so there's no excuse not to go and give it a go. So we're really happy to be partnering with CT1.
So what brings you then, if you've been out there for a while? I thought maybe you would have stayed and gone and done something different over there, or what brought you back to the UK then?
Country pubs and steak and ale pie.
Yeah.
No, just I'd been away from my family for quite a while because I moved away when I was 19, moved down to Weymouth from North Bristol, and then I obviously went to Canada for best part of 3 years. And I was just I kind of think we just want to go home now. It was a head and heart thing. My head was stay in Canada. It's wicked here. There's loads of opportunities. But then my heart was no, just go home. So I had a fiance at the time, Amy, who is also a stonemason.
Yeah.
I met her down at Weymouth College.
I was about to ask, did you meet her in Canada?
Yeah, no, I met her at Weymouth College.
Yeah.
She was doing the conservation course. But yeah, so we moved back from Canada and moved on to a narrowboat because we didn't really want to just come back from Canada and rent a house or something. So we were on narrowboat for a while, started working for a firm that just started out in Oldham in Manchester. We got the job before we moved over through contacts in Canada that one of the lads that was working on there got us a job. So moved back, started working for them just as a start out. My wife still works for them, but I went on my own probably about 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
I think.
What made you go on your own then? What was the?
I was a horrible bastard to be around. I was miserable because nothing was being done the way that I wanted to do it, and I was just getting really frustrated. And there was a lot of site work as well, which I didn't really want to do. I wanted to be in the banker shop. To be fair, the majority of the time I was in the banker shop, but when you're out on site, it's just not. It's not for me.
Not enjoyable.
No, I'm a workshop mason.
Yeah.
It's where I'm best, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was just well, my wife was getting sick of me, and she was just like, "Look, you either
Stop
need
moaning.
you need to stop moaning, or you need to do this on your own, or you need to shut up and get on with it." So I was just like, "All right, well, I guess I'll go on my own." So I got a loan and bought myself a dust extraction unit, and found a little unit sharing with a couple of dry stone wallers that I met when I moved up to West Yorkshire. And covered everything in their workshop in stone dust. And the rest is history, really. Just,
I mean, how do you go about? Because obviously, when you're working for somebody else, you've always got that luxury of semi sort of knowing, unless obviously stuff goes south pretty quick, that you've got a consistent stream of work coming in.
yeah.
How did you find that sort of? Okay, I'm on my own.
Oh yeah, it's like jumping off a cliff. And
I'll really, because I think when you get swept up. Oh, I'm going to have my own business. Oh yeah, I think of a name, and I'll register it. It's a limited company. I've got all the equipment, and you don't actually think, shit, I need some customers.
Yeah. So, fortunately, Mono Masonry, who I was working with before, who are the guys up at Oldham, they had some carving jobs, and they were proper sound. They were like, "Oh, you can still do them. We'll just pay you as you work in your own workshop, and you can
get rid of your moaning."
Yeah, right. It was probably sick of me. Get out the door.
We'll pay you to go.
Yeah. So I had a few weeks, probably a couple of months worth of work off them, and then I just kind of put the feelers out and just like rung loads of companies. Like 95% of them are just like, nah, because they've got their guys that they use. They know, you know what I mean. So it's about kind of trying to elbow your way in and into a company and do that first job. And once you do that first job and you've done it for a reasonable price and you've done a really good job at it, then they go, oh, right, well, you can do this one now and you can do that one. Yeah. But I do have, to be fair, I have, there's a lad called Tom Holland, not the actor. He's a strong man. He's a huge unit of a dude, who's a banker mason as well. He was taught by his dad, who's a stonemason as well. And he was working self-employed. And I think it was through Instagram, I got in contact with him because he was self-employed around the local area. And I went and saw him and he was just like, just do it. Like, just do it. There's nothing to be scared of. Just do it. Like, you'll find work. You'll get forced into situations where you have to find work, so you will find work. All you need is some grinders and just work out of other people's yards. But I didn't really want to work out of other people's yards because I'm a bit of a tart.
How long then did it take for you to sort of, I wouldn't say get established, but to get to a point where you were, you could survive with the business and you saw some sort of growth with it? Because I feel like a lot of people listening and watching, they want to go on their own, but then they're sort of like, well, what happens if it takes 3 years, or what happens if it takes...
it takes a couple of years to get established. You've got 2 years of complete shit show.
Yeah.
Where you're running around like, oh, I haven't got any work next week. You're ringing up quarries. Have you got any windowsills that you need making or whatever? And just going and taking whatever work you can. But then it gets to the point where you do a nice job will come in and you do a really good job of it, and then you can kind of like showcase that either on your social media or whatever, and show people pictures of, oh yeah, I made that, and then they go, oh well, we've got this portico that needs making, why don't you make that? And then I got in through Tom Holland, he got me in with a company just up the way near me who get a lot of nice work, and I've been doing loads of work for them over the last kind of 5-6 years. Yeah. But then I also subcontract to several other firms around the area who get restoration work in. But because I bridge between banker mason and stone carver, they're like two separate things, really. Yeah. So banker masonry is like cutting to lines. It's all geometric. You're working off of radiuses or you're working off of straight lines. It's all like making something to the millimeter. Yeah. Whereas stone carving is like, it's more freehand. So, but you've got within stone carving, you've got like other sectors of it as well. You've got like freehand, like sculptural carving, like that owl, for instance, that I did.
Is that a bit like the who's the guy who's always got his top off?
Oh, Charlie G.
Charlie G. Yeah.
Is that
a bit like Charlie?
Yeah. Well, I've had Charlie G come and work in my workshop actually.
With his top off?
Well, no, thank fuck for that. Nobody wants to see his greasy little nipples.
Could you grab his boob
on camera? But where was I now? All I can think about is Charlie G's nipples.
The reason I remember Charlie is because
everyone remembers Charlie.
But it's the backdrops more than anything. Not because he's got his top off. Like he'll be chiseling away, and you can think Is he next to the Colosseum in Greece?
Yeah,
or something?
so-
It's just so random.
So Charlie used to work at the Minster, and he started off doing some videos. I don't want to be like, I showed him my videos, but I make videos as well. And I showed him some of my videos. He's like, oh, cool. And then he started doing some TikTok videos that exploded. And then he's gone on to, he makes cash off his social media now, so he can travel around.
Do you get work come through your social media? Do you find...
Not frequently, occasionally, sometimes. I actually had a guy who rang me the other day who watched one of my YouTube videos, and he's a memorial mason down in Essex or something.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, can you do some carvings for me? But sorry, I was talking earlier about the difference in the carving world.
Yeah.
But so you've got like sculptural carving, freehand carving, and then you've got architectural carving, which is doing like Gothic crockets and like more like foliage stuff that you find on a building rather than just like freehand sculpture stuff.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I can bridge the gaps. So when people do get carving work in, then they sub it to me quite frequently.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So I get a nice body of work.
So you've started your business. You've had a couple of years worth of really tough trying to grow that business.
Yeah.
Where are you sort of now then with the work or types of stuff that you're doing, or like ambitions for the future with the business? What are you sort of...
So right now things are really good. I got loads of work on, lots of really nice stuff. More than I can do, which is a lovely position, but slightly chaotic.
Ever thought of taking on somebody?
No. So this is the thing.
Or is it your space only?
So this is kind of why I do the YouTube videos, is because really I should have an apprentice, because we need more people to have apprentices, because we're not having that new generation come through. So yeah, really I should have an apprentice. So I'm just doing YouTube videos so I can put the information out there for everyone rather than just like training at one individual. But me as an individual to get an apprentice would be a lot for me to take on, because banker masonry is all about tool skills, essentially. There's knowledge as well, so you need to know what you're doing, but it comes down to tool skills. And you need to invest a lot of time in someone in order for them to get to the point where you could let them loose on a piece of stone that's actually for production. Because stone's ridiculously expensive as a raw material. It's really expensive. So, and when you're subcontracting to people, they send me the stone, I cut the stone, it goes on the pallet, and then it goes off. So you don't really have the room for error. Like, it's not like I have a pallet full of stone in the yard, which is like, oh yeah, you've broken this piece of stone and you've cocked it up, I'll just get another one. It's like, no, it has to be go to the stone yard and cut to size and all the rest of it. So it's a lot to invest in an individual, especially because financially I'd have to support them for the first probably year before I'd let them loose on anything anyway. There's not a lot of like labouring in a banker shop that you can do. There's only so much sweeping up and shoveling up that you can get them to do. So it would be like basically paying someone to do practice pieces until I was happy with them. So I'm not really down with that.
Because that's the difficulty then as well, I think, is if you've got the colleges, they're not paying obviously the lecturers enough. But then if these pieces of stone are expensive that people need to practice on, how does anybody, do you know what I mean? How's anybody going to ever really learn to...
Yeah, so it takes a bigger company who can. I mean, I'm sure they get government funding, which helps cover a lot of their wages and stuff like that. And the companies like Mono are doing a fantastic job. They've always got at least one or two apprentices on, and there are companies that are there that are pumping them out. But generally speaking, there's a lot of apprentices are a bit of a nuisance, aren't they, for a while? Let's be fair. I think across the board, like with all trades. So it's motivating people to take apprentices on. It's quite difficult, I think.
What would obviously you've I think you made it pretty clear that you wouldn't want one. What would it take for you to actually take an apprentice on? Would it be that somebody's got to fund them for you?
If someone could pay their wages for the first year, then that'd be great. But it's realistic. I would love to just teach. I would like to, eventually. I think that's a long-term plan. Is that I would like to teach, either go into a college or maybe even start my own little masonry school. But yeah, as it stands right now. It's just not. It's not for me at the moment, I don't think.
I mean, could you start something like that in conjunction with some of the, so if you got 5 or 6 of the larger companies and actually said, look, this is what I'd like to do, and then you develop a workshop together and you're churning out employees for these companies, maybe that's the...
For me as well, I think I'm a bit of a control freak, if I'm honest, and even subcontracting to mates who are banker masons, I'll go around and I'm like, that's
well, if it's your name that's sort of
that's
associated
it.
with
So
it, it's very difficult.
That's it, yeah. And I kind of pride myself on trying to churn out the best quality work that I can. For if I commit to a timescale, it'll be done in that timescale. It'll be done to the best quality that you can expect, really. And I think letting that go and having other people, like, don't get me wrong, I have had a couple of mates who've come in, maybe it's because they're mates, I don't know, but they've come in and they've done some banker work for me, but it's never worked out because I'm quite clearly a control freak that can't...
Particular.
Yeah, really particular. And it's like, oh yeah, that's like 2 mil out. And it's like, nah, that's not, you know, I mean, that it'll bother me.
I think everybody's level of work is different.
Yeah.
That's why some people get paid more, I think, is because people's level of quality on work is very different.
Totally. Yeah, because there's lads who work in stone yards who will smash out 20 window sills in a day, but it's like they'll just do repeat work over and over and over again, and they'll be really good at that. But then if you go, oh well, here's a ball finial to make, like it looks like a chess piece. Yeah. Like make one of them. They'll just be like, no, thank you. Give me more sills because I make them on a meterage rate and they can smash them out. Yeah. But if you try to ask them to do something like a piece of tracery for a fancy like cathedral or church window, then they might struggle with that, and it might look like someone's gone at it with a shovel. Do you know what I mean? So
my level of work then.
Are you wasting time? I think that some of you probably are, and I have a solution for you. Nobody wants to do any type of admin. Now, I have a solution for you, and it is called Tradify. It's a fully automated job scheduling, invoicing, and quoting all in one place. Now, that software is going to save you 12 hours a week, and all by using a simple software solution. Now, you can try it for 2 weeks, absolutely free, no cards needed, and you'll even get support in person from Tradify themselves. Now, when you're done, you can always come back to me and thank me, but just enjoy the extra 12 hours that you're going to gain from just using the software. So we've seen you bring your son into the workshop as well. Yeah. Do you find it difficult being in the trade and then balancing like your personal life with obviously trying to run your own business?
Yeah, so I've got 2 little ones. I have a strict policy of not working weekends and being home before bedtime. That's kind of the way that I do it. But it is difficult. It's difficult, especially when you got a lot on and you're trying to cram it all in, and where can I squeeze the hours out here and there? And I have like literally been working in the workshop till 10 to 7, go home, do bedtime, say goodnight to the kids, then get back in the truck and drive back to the workshop and then work till like 9, 10 o'clock. But yeah, I just try to make sure I don't work weekends really and have that quality time with the family. Yeah. So it's high priority, I think. I also do school drop-offs as well, so which does mean that sometimes we don't start till like 9:30, 10 o'clock because I've got to drop the kids off and then get to the workshop. But then I'll finish late, so I'll start like 9:30 and finish at like 6 or whatever.
Okay. Should we do final thought?
Oh, final thought.
It's basically the final thought is we always sort of say to people, if you've got any advice or knowledge that you'd like to drop, or you can shamelessly plug your social media, because we do get a few of those.
I'll do that.
Go, this is my thing at the bottom. Yeah. But we always ask people, what would your advice be to somebody else trying to get into what you do? Or would you suggest, if you're this type of person, don't go into stonemasonry? What knowledge could you drop or pass on to somebody that's listening or watching?
I think for stonemasons who are starting out, don't be deterred by just having to do the shit work, because everyone's got to do it. Like the amount of just like chamfered plinth and twice weathered copings and like just stuff that's really basic that you have to churn out and churn out and churn out. That's what you need to do in order to get your tool skills up to then do the more advanced stuff. And when you do get given that opportunity of like, oh yeah, do this fireplace, make sure it's absolutely bang on, perfect. No one can find a single fault in it. And then the more nice things you do, the more people come to you to do the nice jobs. So then that's how you slowly get to the point where you do just, it's one nice job after another nice job. You've just got to get through the shit in order to...
I think everything's like that. Even if you're an athlete, you have
Yeah.
to keep continuing
Yeah.
practicing to get better at something
Yeah.
before somebody's going to go, actually, I know you can do that.
Well, that's it. And because banker masonry is so tool skill heavy, it's like I say, there is a lot of knowledge involved as well in order to know what process to go through. But you can know it all, but without literally having that grinder in your hand for 10,000 hours or that chisel in your hand for 10,000 hours, you won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's just about repetition. Don't be deterred by just having to do the crap jobs.
Yeah. And where would somebody start then? Because I know you said the colleges are...
So I think the best thing to do is find a local masonry company and hound them and be as keen as possible. Go and be like, oh, can I work for free on a Saturday stacking pallets or whatever, just to get in there, because you have to show that you're super keen in order for them to even consider you, really. If you're not keen, then everyone knows that you can take a lad on who might be potentially one of the best stonemasons ever, but if he's got no work ethic, then that's completely useless. You've got to have the work ethic. You've got to be willing to get stuck in and do the crap jobs, and then
And for people that do or are in the industry, get themselves involved with the skill build.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you are in any of the trades, really, talk to your college lecturers or your employees, and you can get on with the skill build. It's great. It's just a nice competitive environment where you can showcase, do the best you can, and you can potentially be crowned one of the best trainees in whatever trade it is. That
I presume as well these other businesses are going to be there trying to find potential people to.
I'm sure there is that. I think there will be a number of full-time students there that are probably looking for apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Equally, there'll be ones that are employed that probably don't want people coming around and trying to name their apprentices.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great just showcase of all the different industries. Really, it's a good event for people just to spectate, but also to get involved in.
Yeah. And when's the date of that? Just for people listening.
In November sometime. Usually around my daughter's birthday, like 20th of November. It's like for a week.
Like a Black Friday.
Yeah.
Around about that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Black Friday in November.
I only ever remember it because it's carnage in here for Black Friday.
Right, yeah.
So
fair enough. That's the thing. One thing about stonemasonry is that a lot of people have this romantic view of stonemasonry when they do a college course, full-time college course, or they see, like the Charlie G videos or like Rachel at Lincoln Cathedral, and have a really romantic view of it. You do get to make some amazing things, and there's a real job satisfaction about making these pieces of stone that are going to go into a building for potentially hundreds of years. But the reality of banker masonry is a lot, in a production setting,
less glamorous.
It's less glamorous, yeah. It's really dusty. You have to make sure you wear your PPE because, silicosis is savage.
Yeah.
It's definitely for a particular individual. If you like being clean, it's not for you.
Okay.
You get very, very dusty, and everything in your life gets infested with dust. But I don't think that's enough. It's certainly not enough to deter me.
Because you actually brought it up yourself, because I wanted to know, like, how much does the material cost?
Oh, stone.
Because I imagine it's insane.
Yeah, so I think the government have now made it that plant machinery is not allowed to have red diesel anymore, right? I think they have to use white diesel, which means obviously quarries across the country in the last couple of years, their stone prices have absolutely rocketed.
Yeah.
You used to be able to get some stones for like £1,800 a cubic meter, like sawn six sides, but now like a lot of them are like $6,000.
Ooh.
I mean, yeah, like. Yeah, $6,000 a cubic meter. Some of them, yeah. I mean, if you get an oversized, like Portland, for instance, and by oversized I mean anything over like 1.5 5 meters that can creep right up. You could spend as much as you want, really. You can spend 12 grand a cubic meter for some stones. Yeah, so this is what I mean. Like when you get an apprentice in.
Do you know what's annoying? Because I'm extending my house. The architect has spec'd to stick stone around the windows.
Right. That's all right. A cubic meter is a lot of stone, man. You get it doesn't sound like a lot, but you can get a lot out of a cubic meter.
What's a cubic meter like?
A meter by a meter by a meter.
Yeah. Pretty decent size.
Yeah, so
but
it's like two. It's
like bay windows.
2.2. Yeah, that'll cost you some cash. I'll do it for you cheaper, mate. Whatever price you get, let me know. I'll just undercut it. Yeah, stone's expensive. So this is what I mean, like when you have an apprentice.
Won't be having stone on my window. It looks good though, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is it.
Good.
I don't think there's anything quite as satisfying as like a beautifully made stone product.
Because my house is all like, the black and white, is it Edwardian sort of style?
Oh, okay,
So
right,
it's all like, the beams on the front painted. It's all that.
Yeah.
But the architect wants to put stone on the window.
Mock Tudor type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I say,
Now I've heard that. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, front portico for the front of houses, it's
the same for
stone
you.
staircases.
Obviously
You're 200 grand on a stone staircase.
For the archway, for the...
200 grand for a stone staircase?
You could do, yeah, if you had post tensions.
So there's a guy down the road.
Easy.
There's a guy down the road who's building a brand new house. Like he's gone absolutely mental. It's like 6,000 square feet. Like the thing is like
giant,
like an ambassador's residence. When you drive past an ambassador's house. And I saw him. I said, "How's things?" Because everybody on the roads complained about this monstrosity that he's built. It's like ultra modern. Everything's a bit old. The NIMBYs. It's a bit oldie down there. And I said, it's not finished. He says, "Oh no," he says, "I had to order the staircase from Germany." I was like,
mate.
I was like, "Oh right, staircase from Germany." He said, "Yeah." He says, "I went a bit mental with it." I said, "How much you spend on it? Like 20 grand or something?" And he went, £100,000.
Yeah.
On his staircase.
Yeah. I've done cantilever staircases that have been in the region of that.
100 grand.
Yeah, no, like
staircase.
if you're having stone stuff in your house, you're spending a lot of cash. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Make sure there's no stone in your house, Nathan.
Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, this is the problem that we're running into a lot at the moment, I think, is with churches. Obviously, they don't have the quantity of people involved in the church anymore. Yeah. And I think an issue that we're going to run into a lot in the next kind of 20, 30 years is these older generation of people that have loads of cash that then die and they leave a sum of money to the church. Those people are slowly going to disappear. So then it's going to just come down to like lottery funding and stuff like that, like national trust and things, to try and pull money out the bag to try and keep these buildings going because the funding is not going to be there. Because I mean, like some churches, it might be like 70 grand just to put the scaffold up.
Yeah, I see a lot of them now where the old style, they've been knocked down and replaced with new, more modern looking church buildings,
right?
Which I think is a shame because obviously you lose the heritage side of things.
I don't like that.
So the one by where I live, actually, old style church, that got knocked down. And
really? Yeah.
Like the ultra modern sort of US evangelical sort of style of church, which just doesn't look.
Yeah, not quite the same. Well, the thing is, it's really frustrating. Like around West Yorkshire, where I live, there's a lot of old mill buildings, like cotton mills for fabric manufacturing back in the day, and these buildings were made by hand. Like every stone, it's like the same with the cathedrals. Every single stone that you see on that wall has been squared up by hand with a hammer and chisel, and nothing like that will be built again. Like the new stone buildings that we're building now, it's all cavity. Everything's like 100 mil face. It's just stones clad to either block building or a steel frame. Whereas these buildings are like solid stone. You've got walls that are like 2-3 foot thick of just pure stone. Nothing's ever going to be built like that again. So when they get torn down, it's like, as a stonemason, and you can appreciate the amount of man hours that have gone into everything in this building. And it's like, oh yeah, well, some local developer wants to stick like 50 houses there and tried to get planning permission, but it got denied. So, there's mysteriously a fire and it's caught alight. So now it's got to be ripped down because it's no longer structurally sound or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of that happens, which is frustrating. So yeah, I'm very much about trying to keep like the built heritage of the UK alive, because stuff like that won't ever be built again. No, CNCs are becoming a big issue as well. I say a big issue, not big issue. It's filling a void that needs filling. Some companies are investing in CNC machines now, which can do a lot of the work that a banker mason can do. A lot of it still has to be finished by hand, and I think it's as much about having someone who knows how to program the machine
pre-program it.
Yeah, exactly. But their argument is, well, you know,
it can work 24 hours a day.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to have holiday. It doesn't have sick pay.
We use CNC machines, but because people used to ask here why I don't produce and manufacture here.
Yeah.
And back in the day when we started the production in the Far East, it was you could buy a CNC machine for about 250,000.
Right. Yeah.
For what we needed, but here it was about 470.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
And you're thinking, well, not only have I got to buy that and it's more expensive, but obviously then you've got your labour and your materials, which is also more expensive.
Yeah.
And if I was to potentially make the same product here, it would be 3-4 times more expensive. And it's not because you're paying anybody's slave labour over wherever. It's purely for the fact that materials and everything else.
It's just cheaper.
The energy cost as well.
Yeah.
It's just,
I think. Like a CNC machine, like stone CNC machine now, I think it's like 100 to 200 grand. I think it's one of those things you could spend as much as you want on it. But I think you can have the best piece of equipment, but if you don't have someone who knows how to use it properly, then I think you run into issues. Because some of the stuff that I've had to rework stuff that's come off CNCs, where it's come off and the profile is nothing like it's supposed to be, or it can't work into corners, because often the CNCs will work off of a blade. They can get like router bits and stuff like that. They can get into small areas, but still needs to be finished by hand. But equally, with certain things, for one-offs, by the time you've got a guy to 3D model it or 3D draw it or whatever on the computer, then you've gone and programmed the machine to do that.
Still just as long as
set it up with the stone, and then actually the time of cutting it, the banker mason's already made it. That's not always the situation. Some things, the machine's obviously going to be faster than a banker mason, but that's what I'm trying to do, is compete against the machines. Try,
Terminator over there.
Yeah, exactly.
John Connor, banker mason.
Yeah, because like something like the thing is with a CNC machine is it turns everything into slurry. So it doesn't like cut out a check and then just remove that piece of stone. It will rib it until it turns it into
like
slurry.
Dust,
So it like to do a rebate might take the machine as long as it takes me, if you know what I mean. So yeah, CNC's something. Well, I think we're just going to have to embrace it, really. Use them for the things that they're good at.
I think there's that sort of stuff that comes into any industry, like with AI and stuff now, with graphic design or digital marketing and stuff. If you don't embrace those sort of things,
you can't resist it.
Then eventually you become redundant yourself, because it's better to know how to use them, to utilise it, so you're still important for that process.
And the thing is, there's always going to be sectors of the masonry industry which cannot be done by machines, like the indent repairs that I was saying, the Dutchman repairs. That can't be done by a machine. It's never going to be able to be done by a machine, because a machine's not going to go up on the scaffold, measure where it needs to be, cut it out, then make a stone to fit that section, get it to fit, then cut it to make it fit so it's perfectly flush, and then fit it in. You're never going to get a machine to do that. The banker masonry churning out 1 million windowsills, that might be the thing that ends up getting eaten up by the machines. But in my personal opinion, that doesn't really bother me, because I hate doing windowsills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Sweet.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, for battling down the M6 and then trying to get on the M42.
Yeah, M42, an absolute shit show.
And then 50 miles an hour. So thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate that, mate.
Nice one.